Life with Tao. Freedom and surrender are not contradictory. They appear to be contradictory to one another, but they are not contradictory really. They appear to be contradictory because of the language. Existentially, surrender and freedom are not contradictory. This you have to understand. First, you cannot free remaining as you are. As you are, you cannot be free because there are bondages. The bondages of the family, the bondages of the society, so many kinds of bondages that you have around you. How can you attain to freedom? You are bound by this social law or that or your conditionings or anything. Because of all this, there is no possibility of attaining to freedom. Your ego is bondage. Your religious, social conditioning is bondage. With all these things, that you are a Hindu, you are a Muslim, you are a Christian, you are male, you are female, you are this, you are that, are these not bondages? And you live with that. You have nationalities, these are egocentric identities. You are within the grip of these. You cannot accept this because this belongs to the Hindu religion or that belongs to the Christian religion. You cannot be free. You can be free only when this ego point or egocentric identity disappears. This egocentric identities or ego point is the bondage. When there is no ego, you can become one with existence. Only if you are freed from the bondage of egocentric identities, you can be one with existence. We say that we live in our narrow individualities. The Sanatan Sanskriti says, Ayam nija paroveti laguchet sam. To think that this is mine, that is his, is the way of the narrow-mindedness. Those who are broad-minded, who are existential, for them the entire earth is the family. When you are dealing with the people, you'll take into account so many factors. When someone calls me or sends a message for anything, suggestion or advice or anything, I do not look at the person, what is his nationality, what is his religious identity, what is his belief system, and none of these factors create any bondage for me. You have asked for the advice or suggestion, also it does not matter. whether you are listening to me on a regular basis or not. That is your choice. Whether you want to listen to the programs on a day-to-day basis as they are the live streamed or the videos are uploaded. But if and when you need my support or assistance, I am ready for it. So then there becomes a choicelessness. I do not look at any factor, any consideration to look for the person. The only thing that is important is to know the patient, the person that I am dealing with, what are his basic problems. Sometimes what you say is not really the problem. Problem is something else. So just as when you want to do a medical test, you go for an examination, physical examination by the physician, or you do the blood test or various other tests, MRI and other tests. So in the same way, when an individual comes in front of me, when person comes in front of me, his gestures, his everything is the manifestation of energy that is flowing within. So it helps me to know what needs to be worked, which direction the energy is flowing, not that what you say. You may say things, but the MRI and CT scan or the X-ray or the blood report says something else. So physician will focus on the blood report. What is your hemoglobin level? What is the cholesterol level? Not anything else. And then he will prescribe his remedy. In the same way, when I am interacting with the person, the first criteria is not your nationality, nothing is important to me. You as a person are important to me, a change can be brought into. And because of your conditioning, because of your lifestyle, your energy will flow in that manner. The way your energy flows, where there are blockages, where there blockages have to be cleared, that is what the concern is. So when there is no ego, now as far as you are concerned, you ask if surrender and freedom are contradictory. They appear to be because of the language. You want to attain to freedom in life, but you say that I cannot give this to my neighbor because I don't like him. So what is the bondage? You need some help and then your neighbor can give you the help, but because he is your neighbor and you do not like him, so how can you attain to freedom? Sometimes we need the assistance of the people. So freedom and bondage. It is because of the bondage you are unable to attain to freedom. Freedom means you are existential, beyond all bondages. So slowly and slowly, the bondages, what is creating the bondage in you is important. First you have to understand that, then remove that. Then freedom becomes natural to you, spontaneous. Spontaneously you are free. While only then Oneness, and it is oneness that is the freedom. Oneness means you are existential. You are not under the bondage of the religion, caste, creed, nationality, education, and all these things. What is the difference if the individuality is important or the status? You may be a professor in the university or a politician or a very rich person, but when you need the assistance, you go to the gas station and the station attendant helps you to put the gas in your vehicle, or the auto electrical engineer helps to fix the car. So, do you see the difference between the two? He is expert in his own field, but you are looking down upon that person, that he is shabbily dressed and you are dressed in a three-piece suit with a necktie, driving a big car. But when the problem comes in, that person shabbily dressed with hands dirty will help you to get out of your problems. While you exist separate, if you maintain that you cannot get the help from this person, you don't want this person to touch your vehicle because you have polished it and it is looking spick and span. You do not want him to touch it because his hands are dirty. Then you find your own way. But in order to do that, you have to remember that this person is the only one who can help you. So you are not creating any kind of a bondage or conditioning that no, do not touch my car inside the upholstery because your hands are dirty. That person will automatically take care of when he is doing the work inside your engine. He uses certain devices. He uses maybe a kind of a mat or something so that the outer body of that is not touched, because when he is touching the engine which is dirty, which may have the oil specks and so he puts that kind of a matting. So he takes care of it. That is his professional way of handling the situation. But from your side, you are to remember that we are not aliens, nor as strangers join. We are bound to each other by a causeless force. At one time or the other, we need the support from somebody else who we do not like. So do not create any kind of bondage that you will not want this person to come to your house. I recall one person, a wife told her husband that I do not want all kind of people coming to my house. The house is mine, not yours. I am the owner of the house. The house has been given by my father. I do not want your friends to come to my house and have all kind of things. Is this separation real or false? Really, you are not separate. You cannot be. You are part of one existence. You are breathing the air that is in the same atmosphere, same environment. You are exhaling and inhaling simultaneously, and what you exhale is inhaled by the other person who does not like you, who is against you, who is quarreling with you, yet still the person inhales the air that you are exhaling, because the air that you exhale becomes a part of the existence, part of that space where both are sitting. You are part of existence, not a mechanical part. If a steering wheel decides that I am not going to support the engine, can your vehicle be won? Your vehicle cannot run, because the steering wheel, braking system, the engine has to work in harmony with one another. They are separate in one way. What they are, their togetherness makes the things easily. You and I are separate, but we have our separate identities, spaces, but togetherness is the way of life. Husband and wife, their togetherness is the way for running the family. You breathe. You cannot exist for a single moment separate from the existence. You breathe it every moment. It breathes you every moment. You live as in a cosmic whole. Your ego gives you a false feeling of separate existence. Because of the ego, you feel that you and your spouse are separate if there comes a conflict between both of you. You may be sitting on the same couch, touching one another, not helping or supporting one another, but whatever money you are earning, that is no problem. Because without that, but you remember, the person is earning the money the way he earns, and the way that he earns the money does not fit in within your egocentric identities. You don't like him to go into that profession, but when the income comes from that, you have no problem with that. So what you did, the money that he gives you for that, you have sanctified it. Your egocentric identity sanctify it, and you want freedom. Then you struggle against existence in that struggle. So ego gives you a feeling of separate existence. Because of that false feeling, you start fighting existence. When you fight, you create a bondage. And when you fight, you are bound to be defeated, because the part cannot be against the whole. As I said, can your steering wheel be in conflict with the entire the mechanism of the vehicle? Because the steering wheel is simply a part of the whole existence of the vehicle. And because of this fight with the whole, you feel in bondage. You are feeling separate from your spouse. You are feeling separate of your neighbor this neighbor on this side you like, you are agreeing with that person, not the other. Because the neighbor does not like your lifestyle. Bondage creates limitations. And because of this fight with the whole, We are living in neighborhood. We need each other's support for security or for many other reasons. But we are separate from one another. You can be separate from one another, but you are in, there is a togetherness also. All the parts of the vehicle are separate from one another. They have their separate identities as long as they were not together. But the moment they are a part of one synergy, then they work in harmony with one another. You look at it, one thing. The water exists by itself, it has its separate identity, it can be used for many purposes. Sugar can be used for many purposes, it has a separate identity. The heat, the stove has its separate identity. It can be used for different purposes. A stove can be used to make tea, to make coffee, to make your food, to do anything else. So now all these things, they have their separate identities, but the sugar, the milk, the tea leaf, the water, the stove, all of them have their separate identities. But when you want to make a tea, they have to lose their individual identities to give you tea. Can you get tea if the tea leaf says that I will not lend my qualities, the color and flavor into the water because I don't like water? Or it says that I do not like this water. You have to put the other kind of a water. So then there cannot be harmony. There cannot be freedom. And for life, freedom is important. In order for you to get the bliss of the tea, all these separate items having their separate identities will have to dissolve with their separate egocentric identities to create a situation, to create an elixir, to create an beverage which will give you bliss, which will give you satiation, which will give you fulfillment at that moment. If all the ingredients that you require for making a particular dish want to maintain their separate identities, suppose these identities, the water, the milk, the sugar, the tea leaf, they do not have the mind like yours. If they had by any chance mind like yours, you think you can obtain tea? If all the ingredients, you are hungry. You are hungry. You need to eat something. So you are making something, for instance, biryani you are making. To make the biryani, you need the vegetables, meats, spices, rice, water, salt, yogurt, all the ingredients. If all the ingredients were like you or like your spouse, no, I cannot undress for you. I cannot do that. I don't like. Then there is no possibility of the union. If the one item yogurt says that I will not allow, I don't like the chili pepper, I don't like this spice, I will not like to cooperate with it. Had God given them the mind, your kind of egocentric identities, none of these things, ingredients that you require for making a complete dish biryani. Neither yogurt, nor spice blends, nor oil, nor everything cooperates with one another to lose their separate identities. They had their separate identities, but for making something to give you the satiation, they have to lose their individual identities and come out with one synergy, that is biryani, or tea, or coffee, or anything. In the same way, we have to live our lives if we want to attain to freedom. So biryani is freedom from bondage. Freedom from individual identities of ego, individual identities of yogurt, salt, milk, this and that, and all those things. In order to live your life, you have, if you want to attain to total freedom, you have to go beyond the limitations that are created by the body, by the mind, and so many other factors, your religious belief system, your social and other identities, egocentric identities. When you fight, you are bound to be defeated, because the yogurt cannot maintain its separate identities in biryani. It has to give its qualities and allow the spices to be blended into it. It changes. It is not against that. I will not change my color from white to the color. And then, so when you mix the biryani mix, let's particular, so it comes red, then you add the yellow color, so it becomes orange color. Yellow does not say that I will not mix with red. Yellow, it loses its identity, red loses its identity, something else comes out, orange color. White loses, so the shading of the orange color gets less or so. That is a harmony. We see these things when it comes in the cooking process. But do we live our lives with our people around with this kind of understanding or synergy? And then you expect freedom. So freedom and surrender. So yogurt has to surrender itself to the spice blend. It has to surrender to everything that it is there. You have to surrender your egocentric identities, your separate identities, to create a synergy. And because of this fight with the whole, you feel in bondage. Everything is limited. Nothing is blending. You cannot get the biryani, you cannot get the tea, because nothing wants all of them sitting with their mouth swelled. The water has a mouth swelled, angry with tea leaf. Tea leaf is angry with sugar. Sugar is angry with milk. So what it is happening in your house? The spouse are against one another. The children are in their own room. And you talk about the freedom, bliss, happiness. With bondages are created by the egocentric identities, not losing there. So everything, you cannot live your life with all bondages, egocentric identities. You want to take a shower, you need to use the body wash, you need to use soap, but soap is against the water, or the body wash is against the water. So you apply the body wash on the body, and the water says, I will not Wash your body. Or soap says, I will not cooperate with the water. So can you apply the soap, dry soap on the dry skin? You can apply the body wash on a dry skin, but it will not have its stretch. So you need the body to be wet first, then you apply the body wash, and water cooperates. Body wash cooperates, and you clean your body. You take a shower. So in life we realize the significance. They do not create a wall. And because of this fight with the whole, you feel in bondage, very limited. Wherever you move, a wall comes in. You are going to the, you and your spouse are against one another. Right. So you go to the bathroom, that you face another problem with the water, between water and the body wash. They are not cooperating with one another. Then somehow or the other you overcome that problem. You come to the to your cupboard. This particular top is not agreeing with this trouser. So somehow you manage and convince the top and the trouser to match with one another, and somehow the other agree to cooperate with one another. Then you go, the shoes are not matching, not cooperating, the socks are not matching. Finally you decide, somehow the other you convince, and you come out on the car. The car says, I will not allow you to sit down in me with this combination of clothes or with this particular hairstyle. Have you imagined how life would have been with all these kind of conflicts? You cannot manage a small conflict with your spouse, with your neighbor, with your employer, with your employee. And if everything in existence has been creating a conflict among themselves, the animate and inanimate, life would have been, what would have been the life like? Everywhere you are seeing the walls. That wall is nowhere in existence. It moves with your ego. It is part of the separate feelings. Then you struggle against the existence, and in that struggle you are defeated constantly. In that defeat you feel bondage, you feel limitations. Then what comes? Continue tomorrow. Then comes surrender. The yogurt surrenders itself to all the other ingredients. Every ingredient that are needed to make the biryani are ready to surrender their egocentric identities to create one synergy. In tea, the water, the milk, the sugar, the tea leaf, the heat, they are ready to surrender their egocentric identities. The soap, the water, the towel, the bathroom, the light, each one of them are ready to surrender their egocentric identities. But you are not ready to surrender your egocentric identity to your neighbor, to your spouse. Isn't it so? And you want to live life like that. So we continue in tomorrow's session. By surrender, one can attain to freedom. You want to attain freedom from your dirty skin. So for that objective, to clean your body, to be fresh, refreshed, The soap, the water, the towel, the light, everyone surrenders themselves of their egocentric identities to create a situation for you to be refreshed, energized, feeling fresh. Isn't it so? Enough for now.